Last week, we got Jigsaw running and driving.
Can't even get the car running.
You will, however, notice we did not put a fan on the radiator, so we're gonna figure that out this week. Also, we're going to start shaping our fender so we can have a nice, neat wheel arch here and kind of bring the whole room together. So in our clay model here, you can kind of see a little bit what we're going for. Right now we have the entire top made, we have the front made, but we don't have like from here, up through here, and then back through made right now. So we gotta make this whole piece. You'll notice here on this lip that it kind of curls out and has some detail to it. I don't think that we're going to make that detail into our base panel because we've had experiences in the past with other projects where you start to add these details and then your wheel arch kind of walks around and it doesn't fit right to the car. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make our base shape, and then the idea is to make our flared lip be in separate pieces and then add on additionally, because in that way we can kind of float it around on the panel and get our location correct. But before we do anything, we gotta make the base piece. So let's start with the template and go from there.
Man, I feel good. Went for a run last night, got back into it after vacation. Life, my friend, young man, is about maintenance. You gotta take care of yourself. Don't wait until you get old, it's too late. That's what I like about Keeps. They're about maintenance, so it's not, oh, I lost my hair and now I gotta try and fix it. You know, take care of it before it's a problem. And this video is sponsored by Keeps. We appreciate sponsors like Keeps because that allows us to keep producing videos for you guys. And since a large percentage of our audience is guys, it seemed like a good product to pair up with our channel. 2 out of 3 guys are likely to experience male pattern baldness by the time they reach age 35. And with Keeps, you can get professional care for your hair loss from where you're sitting and watching this video right now. You never have to visit a doctor's office or a pharmacy. Treatment is delivered right to your door in discreet, non-branded packaging, and you're in complete control. You can adjust, pause, or cancel your plan at any time. When you're talking about something as important and personal as your hair, you want to deal with a product you can trust. Keeps has over 5,000 5-star reviews and has helped over 1 million men experiencing hair loss with only science-backed ingredients. Whether you're looking to prevent hair loss, stimulate hair growth, or just take care of the hair you have, Keeps has you covered. Thanks to Keeps for sponsoring this video and for the free product. Hair loss stops with Keeps. For a special offer to get started, go to keeps.com/Crucible Coachworks or click the link in the description. That's KEEPS.com/Crucible Coachworks.
I want to match the nose radius here to flow it into the panel back through here. I think it's gonna be about the same radius the whole way through. If anything, I can add more of a radius back here if you want to, which is showing a 24. I shrunk the top edge here, which brings it down a little bit to the top panel. So I think what I'm gonna do next, I'm gonna wheel up through to kind of bring it out, which will let the panel suck in even tighter. Kind of funny to say that it brings it out to bring it in tighter at the same time, but that's how the cookie crumbles. That's the man, get him. Oftentimes in this channel, whenever we start making a panel, both Tony and I like to be a little bit on the safe side with how much we stretch. And I feel like it's a good method so you don't accidentally overstretch something and have to redo your work. However, at the same time, we do this almost every single time and it takes up so much time reworking and reworking by stretching more and more and more. So I think what I'm gonna do this time, go with my gut and stretch just a ton because I feel like it just needs a lot of stretch to crown the way we want. So I had the wheel a little bit harder than I typically would just right off the bat. But I found my footing here and I got some shape in the panel, so the panel is cooperating and not flopping too much. We'll see if it pays off or not. I have a couple high spots in the panel, like ripples, because when I was wheeling this, the panel would drop. So when I wheeled it out, the weight of the panel would push down and make a little like high spot, like a twist in the panel. So right now, I'm going like a crosshatch across the panel, kind of like you would if you were sanding body filler on a car, to kind of just massage those spots out. We're just roughing the shape of the panel in anyway, so I'm not super concerned about it, but it was pretty bad. Focusing on just this area right here, I think it's starting to curve the right way. It's gonna be hard to see though, I think, without being able to wrap this around. But I can't physically wrap it around because when Tony made this template here, he just made it to the edge of the tire for location reasons. I think I need to cut it back a little bit further so I can go around the tire. So I'm gonna take about 25 millimeters off the lip here, because like we talked about in the beginning of the video, the actual lip for the wheel arch that goes around the tire is gonna be a separate piece that we make that we can make it located on the panel, so we don't have to like be too afraid of cutting it back too far. That's better. Wow, that bent super easy because there's not much material there. There we go, we got our Demolition Derby fender.
Is that before or after the Derby?
Yes. I have like a mountain here, a mountain here, a mountain here, and it kind of waves. I'm very displeased with that, and it's not how I typically wheel. I don't know why I did that, other than the fact that I am a potato this morning. So we're gonna use the planishing hammer, and I'm gonna dance across the panel and kind of hit these low spots. I'm going a crosshatch pattern, but I have the planishing hammer set up at a pressure that's not stretching it too much. Instead, I'm feeling for resistance. So the way these two dies work is you have an upper die and a lower die, right? And you have the material between. So what's happening is that the panel has a ripple to it. I'm gonna feel a lot of friction as that panel levels itself out. And once it levels out, then it'll kind of glide across it. So what I wanna do is take this 24 radius I have in this die and have it feel like it glides across the panel. And once it's gliding smoothly, I know that I'm pretty close to right. That's so much better. That's a lot better here though. So with the way the panel is right now, I'm pretty happy with through here. This edge needs to be shrunk over. I'm not gonna worry about that right now. What I am gonna worry about is right through here. It's kind of flat, and it's keeping that from like rotating where it needs to go. So I think I'm gonna switch to a sharper die, and we're gonna kind of force it over up through here, and it should get us to about where we need to be.
A little bit of A, a little bit of B.
Yep, some shrink, some stretch. It's a symbiotic relationship. Tony, your panel screwed me over again.
I did exactly what we talked about.
That was the worst line I've ever drawn in my life.
That looks like Charlie Brown's mouth, like when something bad just happened.
Oh, well, something bad did just happen. I made a terrible line.
So do I criticize you for drawing a terrible line or not cutting on the line?
It's not about the line drawn that matters. It's the actual cut. And the cut is straight. Wow, that made a big difference.
Yeah, look at that.
It actually hugs the way it's supposed to. I was like,
shrink it, stretch it? No, just cut it.
I feel like this car is gonna look transformed once we have this wheel arch figured out.
Yeah.
So identified, here's flat. I need to stretch through here to kind of bulge it out. The other thing I did was when I planished with the planishing hammer, I went up to this edge, which made it kind of bacony because there's too much material there for it to be happy. So what I like to do, which is what I did on the top edge, is take the kick shrinker and lock in the shape. And all I do is I take it and do just the lightest little shrink. What it does is it draws it together and it locks the shape in. When you stretch outside the bounds of your panel, you get like a bleed of the shape, and then it actually will lose shape in the center of the panel. So like, example, in the English wheel, if I were wheeling this and I run off the edge, it lets it bleed out, and that stretch will actually like fall out that edge. It's a really weird way to say it, but it's the way I was taught, And it's true. The safest thing you can do is called framing your panel, which is where you just don't stretch outside that like ½ inch or so at the edges. But you find yourself in a situation like I am, like anything else in metal shaping, just undo your last thing. And the last thing I did was stretch the edge. So I'm gonna shrink the edge and that'll bring us back into shape.
Boo.
Now I can actually just stand back and look at it. Oh no, I've ruined it, Tony.
It's got some curve in it now.
Yeah. All right, here goes nothing. Might quick coat on here and try to hammer and dolly it some to kind of smoosh it in place. Because I think the shape's about there. It's just a little wavy. Our tubing of our Supercar buck here should rectify that. It's looking a lot better, but I think what I want to do is I'm going to cut the wheel arch back close to the wheel arch we're going to actually make on the car, so we can kind of visualize whole panel flow overall, because right now it looks a little bit like a Fisher-Price car. With this being a 1960s inspired supercar, we're not going for modern wheel gapping, you know, with making it perfectly flush. So the wheel gap is going to be a little big, but in a good way, I think.
Match the inspiration, which was 1960s, not 2016 or 2026.
Wow, future.
Yeah.
Tony's predicting future trends.
It all comes around again. So we laid out what we want our opening to be. We're gonna have a lip that's gonna be above this, a flange that'll be there. This line that we have laid out is supposed to represent what the opening is going to be, the gap between the tire and the fender. Mostly so we can visualize it, so we can get the shape where we want it to be.
We spent a little bit of time looking at other 60s cars too for a little bit of inspiration, and we learned that a lot of them had like a hump towards the front of the arch.
And then dropped off sharply towards the ground.
Yeah, and the back had a fade.
And the back fades away, and it gives a little bit of an illusion of speed while it's sitting still, and it fits the era, so that's what we're going with. That fender's coming along really nicely, but our fan showed up. Oh, that wasn't very nice. Our fan showed up.
What a reveal, Tony. Ooh, is that metal?
And we love our fans, Ryan.
Ha! I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Stop it!
Last major piece of or component for our cooling system is this fan. So we want to get that on there because it's hot around here.
This thing's gonna look sick too because it's like a metal, kind of barbaric fan. So it'll kind of match the 60s style.
Yep. It moves like 3,000 CFM of air. It should work really well for that. It will pull. That looks like it belongs on a 60s car.
We went to all of this work making sure that we have a clamshell in front that opens and closes like a hinge. The downside is right now we're not reinforced yet, so the weight of all the panels and Tony smacking our new panels onto the car, it's a bit much for the hinge, and it wants to shift the aluminum tubing in the front nose. So we're gonna take all the panels off first to get access to the fan, just to be safe. We spent a lot of time jigging things to make it be symmetrical. It'd be a shame if it is no longer symmetrical because of a shift in paneling due to weight.
Yep, so it doesn't reach that. But what we talked about doing was building an aluminum shroud for this. Big hole in the center, and this bolts to the aluminum, and then we're good to go.
Or steel.
I think we use aluminum.
But if we use 20 gauge steel and plasma cut it.
Well, that's true.
20 gauge is pretty light, and we can just plasma cut it in the CNC and be pretty quick.
Yep.
Can't roll plasma cut aluminum.
Oh, wow. What if we do that?
Ah, big brain Tony.
The shroud helps to pull air through the entire core. If we have no shroud, the fan is primarily going to pull air through that center circle, where if we put a shroud on, then it will help pull air through the entire core. I'm just marking where we have to notch the flange for the fan shroud around our hose.
That's a beautiful marking. You're deafening me.
Better for me too, now I can't hear you.
What?
I am not using the EcoFlow as a stand.
That might be like the most expensive sawhorse in the shop you could find.
It was also the closest.
That's the rule around here. The closest tool is the best tool for the job. Will it blend?
It kind of just dropped right in place, didn't it?
Yeah, it looks pretty nice.
Here we go. Normally I would center this, but I think just to keep away from the fan shroud, we'll slide it
Towards the top.
Yep.
So it doesn't hit this fan shroud in the bottom.
Yep.
That's a good idea.
So I think we're just gonna cut a flat sheet out with a hole in the center, and that will allow us to mount to this, and that will give us our fan shroud. We've got a gap here already built into this that will be filled with foam when we put it all together.
It's built like a 1/2 inch, so it should be far enough back to pull air.
Yep.
That's the biggest concern right now, is we need to make sure we have enough air gap to pull air from the corners of that radiator to the center. If it's too close, it might not work, but I think we're gonna be okay.
Yep. If it ends up we need more, we can always come back and build a much more complex and deeper fan shroud.
Just as I had hoped, the VersaCut 4x4 CNC table by Eastwood is preloaded with different shapes you can modify, and they have one that's a rectangle, or in this case a square. I can change it to a rectangle with a hole in it. They can change the offset on as well. So all I gotta do is just put in these values and we'll have our fan shroud.
Square is a rectangle.
You're a rectangle.
I know there are plenty of you out there that are concerned about the amount of weight that I'm adding with this piece of steel. So let's start by weighing it and see how much we're adding. About 3.5 pounds.
What's that in metric land?
And
For our overseas friends.
1.6K.
Yeah, so it's not that much.
It's not that much. We might save half that if we use a piece of aluminum in its place, but right now we're not sure this is the final iteration. We might have to redesign it for more depth. We're also probably going to be adding some flaps for high speed, which is going to cut even more weight out of this. While we realize that every ounce counts, we are more concerned about the seconds we're going to save building it this way.
Aluminum is not great to cut out with a plasma cutter, so cutting that shape out by hand out of aluminum without deforming the panel or anything would be a lot of work and time, and we want to keep moving today.
All right, that works.
That looks great. Good job, Tony.
Now we have to attach the new fan shroud to
the bracket.
Yeah, to the bracket, and then we have to attach the fan to the fan shroud.
It's like a sandwich.
Who put that bit in?
The truck was giving me problems yesterday. You put that bit in.
Yeah, I did it that
You
time.
put that bit in. What are you doing, Tony?
Yeah, I gotta refresh myself on how to use this thing. It's an awesome tool. If you've used any of the other riv nut tools, this one works way better, but I used it 6 months ago.
Should I pull up the clips?
No, that's not necessary.
It's your turn to figure this thing out now.
All right, I've never used it. 0 to 8 millimeters.
He was making fun of me last video.
I would still be making fun of you because you didn't do this.
Yep, I have it backwards. Wait, do I have it backwards? I can't tell. I don't know. I don't think I'm backwards.
Just read the instructions.
No.
A dream within a dream.
Yeah, I need to refresh myself just so that I get this set because I don't want to have to do any of that again.
Fan is bolted to the shroud. The shroud is riveted top and bottom right here. So it is solidly mounted. However, it's not permanently mounted, but we're gonna permanently mount that later when we know it actually works the way we want it to.
Yep, for now we're gonna wire it. So I got ready to wire in our fan. Went to the wiring diagrams, came up with a little bit of a plan, got back here and realized I already hooked up that wire.
Oh.
I had it all figured out. Did have a problem. This started with 4 fan relays and we only need 1, so we're down to 1. Remove the others, that took care of the problem. And now we can run the water pump manually. And now,
Yo! That thing's moving air, holy cow.
I can feel it from back here. It's cooler in here already.
Look at that.
Look at all that air movement.
So now that our car can cool itself even when it's idling in place, back to our fender, which we started in the beginning of the video, we have a good bit of work left to do on this fender, particularly relating to the lip along here. So check back next week when we dive into the detail work of this fender, make the other side, and probably some more.